You know that old saying, nothing in life is free? Yeah, I should have listened. At the time, I was living in a crappy college apartment with 2 other girls and exactly 0 comfortable furniture. The couch we did have was basically a burlap sack over springs. It squeaked when you breathed near it. So when I found a Craigslist post that just said, free couch, first come first serve, with a blurry but decent photo attached, I figured I'd scored big. No sob story in the listing, no catch. Just a name, Mark, and an address in a sleepy suburb about 30 minutes away from campus. A neighborhood with cookie-cutter houses, trimmed lawns, mailboxes shaped like lighthouses. Seemed harmless. I drove out there in my beat-up Jeep just before noon. It was a warm Saturday. I remember because I was sweating through my shirt and regretting wearing jeans. The house looked completely normal. White siding, green shutters, a ceramic frog by the front step. The guy who opened the door was fine, like completely average. Middle-aged, slightly balding, wearing a faded band tee and cargo shorts. Friendly in a dad joke kind of way. Said I was the first one to show up and helped me carry the couch out of the garage. It was lighter than it looked. Soft too. Dark gray with only a few scratches on the side. We made small talk. Nothing weird. He asked if I was in school, what I was studying. I said journalism. He said he used to write movie reviews for a blog back in the day. That was it. No creepy vibes. No weird glances. He didn't ask for my number or offer to help deliver it. Just handed me the couch, wished me luck, and went back inside. I even waved as I pulled away. If the story ended there, it'd be the most boring story ever. But it doesn't. That night, I'm lying on my bed scrolling through my phone, and I get a call. Blocked number. No voicemail. Just a single ring and hang up. Whatever, I figured. Spam. An hour later, another call. I let it go to voicemail this time. I'm expecting silence or some scam message. But what I get is this whispery, almost amused voice. It said, "How's the couch feel?" That's it. No name, no context, just that. Now, I'm not someone who scares easily. I've seen my fair share of true crime docs, but this hit different. I sat up straight, suddenly very aware that the house was quiet and my roommates were gone for the weekend visiting family. My first thought was maybe it was a prank. Maybe Mark had some creepy sense of humor and saved my number somehow, but I hadn't given it to him. I hadn't messaged him. I just showed up. Still, I brushed it off. Told myself it was coincidence. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe they meant something else. I got up, walked into the living room, and stared at the couch. It looked innocent. But then, I don't know why, I decided to unzip one of the seat cushions, just to ease my mind. And there it was. A tiny piece of plastic wedged deep in the foam. Barely visible. No blinking lights or wires. Just a small, matte black rectangle about the size of a lighter, with a single switch on the side. I pulled it out and turned it over. There was a serial number and a brand I didn't recognize. That's when I started to panic. I Googled the brand. Turns out it was a kind of GPS tracker. Not the kind you find at Best Buy. The kind that gets tucked under cars. Used for asset protection and, yeah, surveillance. I took it apart with a screwdriver and shoved the pieces into different trash bins across the block. And then I called the cops. They took it seriously. Asked a lot of questions. Sent someone out the next day to take a statement and the couch, yes, the whole thing, as evidence. Here's the part that still gives me chills. The address I gave them, the house where I picked up the couch, it was vacant. No one lived there. No mark. No lease. The place had been listed for sale for months. The agent said she hadn't shown it in over a week. When they pulled doorbell footage from a neighbor across the street, they saw me pull up. They saw a man, not the owner, open the garage, wheel out the couch, help me load it, and close the door again. The kicker? He never walked back in the front door, never re-entered the house. He just disappeared down the side yard, out of frame, gone. The police found no fingerprints inside the garage. No food, no water bottles, nothing. It was like someone had used the place just long enough to plant the couch. They think the ad was a lure, that the couch was bait. that maybe the guy was tracking whoever took it, watching them, picking someone to visit later. That voice on the phone, they never traced it. Blocked burner, no leads. I don't take Craigslist freebies anymore, not even chairs. And if I do ever bring something secondhand into my house again, you better believe I'll tear it apart first. You'd be surprised how many Craigslist gigs sound shady and actually are. But sometimes, it's the ones that sound normal that mess you up the worst. I was in my second year of film school, broke, stressed, and juggling 3 jobs that barely paid enough for gas. I'd been taking freelance camera gigs to keep afloat, mostly low-budget music videos, real estate walkthroughs, the occasional quinceañera if I was lucky. So when I saw an ad titled, "Videographer Needed, Non-Traditional Wedding, $500 for 2 hours," I didn't even blink. That was bank compared to what I usually made. The listing was short. A couple wanted their intimate, one-of-a-kind ceremony documented, but didn't want a big team or fancy editing, just a raw video of the moment. The bride didn't like attention, the ad said. They were eloping somewhere quiet, meaningful to them. I emailed them my reel and heard back the same day. The reply was warm, polite. They thanked me for my work, said they loved my organic eye, which, okay, flattering, and asked to meet in person to hand off the deposit. I agreed, mostly because meeting in public made it feel safer. We met the next morning at a coffee shop just off the highway. The guy was maybe mid-30s, average build, black baseball cap. The woman, if you could call her that, never took off her sunglasses or said a word, just nodded and smiled while he talked. He said the wedding would be held in a barn on a private property, about an hour north. Gave me printed directions instead of a pin drop. That should have been a red flag, but I figured it was a reception dead zone. Happens in rural spots. They handed me an envelope with a $200 deposit and thanked me again for being the final piece. And you know what? I drove out there. The barn sat off a gravel road, surrounded by knee-high grass and nothing else for miles. Big red structure, older but clean, with those huge sliding doors and one tiny window high up near the rafters. When I pulled in, there wasn't a single other car. No decorations, no lights, no music. Just wind and cicadas and the smell of hay. I figured maybe they were running late, so I got out and opened the barn doors. Inside was empty. No couple, no altar, no guests. Just a single wooden chair in the middle of the floor. A camera already set up on a tripod pointed at the chair. Its red standby light blinking, and taped to the seat, a thick manila envelope labeled in block letters. Do not leave until it's done. I should have walked out right then. I know that now, but I opened it. Inside was a printed script. 3 pages, double-spaced. The first line, "To the witness of this union, your voice will usher us forward. Read clearly and do not stop." It wasn't poetic. It wasn't romantic. It was clinical, disturbing. The tone shifted halfway through, from ceremonial phrases to confessions. Horrible, specific confessions. Statements about things buried beneath shallow roots. About the mask of the mother and what the child saw but never spoke. By the end, the script devolved into numbers and sounds. Gibberish syllables, half chant, half scream. It didn't sound like a wedding. It sounded like an exorcism. I put it down, heart hammering. The air in the barn felt heavy, still, like the world was holding its breath. I backed away from the chair and started filming the barn for proof. My phone, not their camera. Then I ran. I didn't even drive home. I went straight to my professor's office and spilled everything. He thought I was being dramatic until I handed him the envelope and the script. He told me to go to the police. The officer who took my statement raised a brow when I said Craigslist, but took the script anyway. Said they'd look into it. That night, I couldn't sleep. My brain kept replaying the scene. The empty barn, the blinking camera, the silence. So I did what any idiot would do. I Googled parts of the script, and I found it. A video, uploaded 2 weeks earlier to a private Vimeo account, but someone had reposted it to a true crime forum. The thumbnail was blurry. A girl, maybe late teens, sitting in that same chair in that same barn. And she was reading the same script. Her hands were shaking. Her voice cracked on the nonsense syllables. And near the end, right before the camera cut off, she looked directly into the lens and whispered, "Please don't do this." That's when I knew it wasn't a wedding. It never was. The police later confirmed the barn was abandoned. No permits, no ceremony. The deposit envelope had fake bills and wiped prints. Craigslist account, burner email. The couple, never identified. They just disappeared, like they were never real. But the video was, and I can't help but wonder how many others sat in that chair before me. How many did read it, and how many didn't leave in time? If you're drawn to tales like these, consider subscribing to Spectral for more chilling entries waiting to be uncovered. And if you have your own haunting story that you'd like featured in an upcoming compilation, we'd love to hear it. Just email us at spectralentries@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the video. You ever grab something off Craigslist and think, well, this was too easy? That's what happened with the piano. And honestly, I still don't know what we brought into our house. My girlfriend, Lena, and I had just moved into this 1950s rental in the valley. It had real hardwood floors, a weird avocado green kitchen, and this big, empty wall in the living room that Lena kept saying needed a statement piece. I was thinking art, maybe a mirror, but Lena wanted something cooler. Something that said, "Hey, we're quirky and have taste, but also zero money." And then she found it. A Craigslist ad. Dead simple. Free upright piano. You move it, it's yours. Want it gone ASAP. No photos. Just a zip code, only 20 minutes away, and a phone number. When she called, a guy answered immediately, said yeah, it was still available, and if we wanted it, we should come that day. The tone in his voice was off, like he was rushing. Nervous, maybe. I asked if there was anything wrong with it, and he said, nope. Just tired of seeing the damn thing. He said we'd need 2 people and a truck, which we had. So we went. The house was in one of those sleepy older neighborhoods with big oak trees and chain link fences and too many cars parked on the lawns. The house itself looked pretty normal. Yellow paint peeling a little. Empty porch. No furniture visible inside. It looked like someone had moved out already. The guy who met us at the door was in his 40s, maybe. Greasy hair. Wore a stained hoodie even though it was warm out. He didn't invite us in. Just said the piano was in the living room and pointed us to it. It was an old, upright, black lacquer. Dusty but beautiful in a worn-down kind of way. The keys were yellowed, a couple chipped. I tapped one and it let out a low, moaning tone. Lena smiled, said it was perfect. I told the guy thanks again, and he just nodded, kinda jittery. Said, you sure you want it? Then, before we could even answer, added, it's yours. I don't care what you do with it. I just don't want it here. And then he helped us get it into the truck like he was desperate to be rid of it. No eye contact, no small talk. We laughed about it on the way home. Said maybe it was haunted. I even joked that if we opened the lid and found bones inside, it was her fault, not mine. The piano fit perfectly along the blank wall. Lena put a candle on top of it. One of those fancy ones with dried flowers embedded in the wax. She tried to play a few chords, but the sound was warped, off-key, kind of brittle. We agreed to get it tuned eventually and left it alone. That night, I heard a note play, just one. I thought it was a dream, maybe a neighbor with a piano. Whatever, I didn't bring it up. But the next morning, Lena said she'd found something weird. She'd opened the top lid, just out of curiosity. And inside the frame, wedged in behind the strings, were scraps of paper. Dozens of them. They were curled and yellowed and folded over themselves like someone had shoved them in through the tiny gaps between the keys or the panels. We pulled one out with tweezers. The handwriting was messy, wobbly, like a child's. It said, help me, somebody, that's all. We pulled out more. It hurts. I'm still in here. Don't forget me." She locked the door. Some were written in crayon. One had a doodle of a stick figure with long hair. Some were barely legible, the pencil marks smeared or faded. We stopped after finding maybe 10. Lena sat back, pale. She kept saying it had to be a prank, that kids probably used the piano as a hide-and-seek spot or something. But the notes were old. Paper doesn't curl like that unless it's been there a long time. The ink was faded to that weird gray-brown color. Some of the pages were brittle. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the guy's voice. The way he said he just wanted it gone. The way he didn't ask for money. No one gives away a working piano just to be nice, especially not one with something hidden inside. The next morning, I told Lena I was going to try taking part of it apart. I'd seen enough YouTube videos to know how to unscrew the front panel, the one below the keys. She said not to mess with it, but I couldn't stop thinking about those notes. So I opened it. Inside the hollow of the frame, near the base of the soundboard, I found them. Claw marks. Not scratches from tools, not damage from moving. It looked like someone had raked their fingers along the inside wood until it splintered. And near the bottom, caught in the old cloth lining, was a bracelet. Pink plastic beads. One of those stretchy DIY ones kids make at summer camp. The kind that spells a name. This one said Mia. Couldn't breathe. We called the police. They took the piano, took the notes, the bracelet. They ran the serial number, asked 1,000 questions. Eventually, they told us what they could, which wasn't much. The house it came from had changed owners 3 times in the past 10 years. But 30 years ago, a little girl named Mia went missing in that neighborhood. Never found. No suspects, no leads, just gone. They're looking into it now. As for the guy who gave us the piano, his number doesn't work anymore. The Craigslist ad was deleted, and the house we picked it up from? Vacant. The neighbors say no one's lived there in years.